All right, all right. So I first want to say, everybody who is watching live, thank you all so much for your patience as we get ready for our next wonderful guest um, concerning Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar and my Rose Gold series featuring Miss Tamara Rushing. So before I even start, I just would like to give you all a preview of this beautiful woman. I feel like I can't really say all the beautiful things that she has been doing, but I will do my best to really emphasize some of the things that she's been up to. So today on our Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar Rose Gold series, Mothering Self-Healing Practices during COVID-19, I have Tamara Rushing. Tamara is a woman of strong faith, a mother and believer in holistic health. She is a health and wellness nutrition coach and sustainable living and community advocate. Her expertise includes balancing holistic and traditional medicine to fight against breast cancer. She credits positive thinking, natural remedies, and the teaching of Dr. Jafunza Wrights Carter, a Dr. Sabi, as well as Louise Hayes, and keys to her resiliency and steadfastness within her healing process. Ms. Russian has spoken to many women and community members concerning holistic practices, finding happiness after toxic relationships, and financial fortitude. She was recently featured on Wanda Williams' Internet Cafe show discussing the Devon integrated approach to healing cancer. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Miss Tamara Rushing.
Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And so good to see you, Dr. Caesar. It's been a couple of years since I've seen you, but we have definitely stayed in contact. And so I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for having me. I'm so humbled by this experience.
Thank you so much. Yes, Ms. Tamara Rushing, just briefly, is just a woman that I truly admire. When I met her, she had just given me so many tips concerning living a holistic life. And so when I was thinking about who can I interview when it comes to a sustainable, holistic lifestyle, she was one of the first people I thought of. So again, I'm so happy that you took um, the call to be a part of this wonderful program in which I'm trying to help others. So, without further ado, I would like to ask you the first question. This series is focused on
Absolutely.
self care. So, I would like to know, what are your ideals surrounding self care? What does self care means to you?
So, to me, self care is what one does to make themselves whole and complete on many different levels: physically, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, and financially, as they all synergetically work together.
Thank you so much for that wonderful definition. One of the things that I really enjoyed was this particular ideal of what makes one whole. And so, would you say that you're saying that that self-care should be something that you create based on your own lifestyle?
I'm a firm believer in, will definitely say that it's something that you should incorporate. Because, like I said, some of the people that have inspired me, like Dr. Jafunza Wright and Dr. Sebi and the late great Miss Louise Hay, these people were much, more experienced. They got the years of experience and wisdom, and you can't just recreate what someone have had maybe 30, 40, 50 years of true and try, knowing that it works, but you can incorporate what you learn from them into your lifestyle to achieve the type of balance that you're trying to get in your own life.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. I'm also a big fan of Louise Hayes as well as Dr. CB. And I am working on getting more information about Dr. Wright. And I can't wait to get more familiar with the ways that she has been working in the community. So, my next question is, how can women care for themselves on a budget, if possible, even when you think you can't afford it?
That's a really good question, Dr. Caesar, because typically coupled with people, what comes people that are dealing with challenges is almost always a financial challenge in a where you don't have a mate anymore due to having to separate from a toxic relationship or being a single parent. When it's just one income, it puts people in a place where they say, I can only focus on the things that I quote unquote have to take care of. I cannot focus on anything that outside of like my bills. And so some strategies that you can use is definitely a communal approach. I think this whole pandemic has taught us that together we are stronger. People are more united within workplaces. People are more united within their family spaces and just working together. So it could be something as simple as bulk buying. Like I'm a fan of places like Costco and Sam's Club. And so if you have a friend that has like a Costco card, be willing to share that. If you have a membership and someone else can't afford it, that's something that you can help with. And even like with Dr. Wright, she does these bags called RX bags, 14 servings of fruits and vegetables that are brought to the city of Chicago from an outside suburb. And it lowers the carbon footprint, help people to eat healthier. But there is a platform where you can donate $7.50 to get someone 14 servings. And so maybe that person may not have the money themselves, but with the communal approach is how you can definitely do it. And there's some great apps, like a friend of mine reminded me about this app called Ibotta, Ibotta. And I've seen others in the app store like called Fetch, and you really have to be observant of your dollars where you're spending. So if you travel and you have a card to say, hey, you can get cash back, or if you shop like we all should do regularly, at least once a week, if once a week, if not a minimum of once a month. You need to be keeping those receipts and looking for apps and programs that will give you cash back off those receipts. One of my favorite grocery stores, like Myers, they tell you when you have the app, they tell you when you have gotten to the point where you earn free foods, and pretty much a lot of them. And a lot of those apps are very compatible with most stores like Aldi's, Walmart, just your basic grocery stores. So it's not like you have to be going to Whole Foods or something like that. You can go to very affordable, which I'm a big fan of Aldi's because their products have changed and improved so much over the year, and their prices are really good. And they really try to focus on more organic and non-genetically modified foods. But that's some of the things. So if I just said one word or one phrase, how you could afford it is having like a communal mindset and working together from that perspective, to like buy in bulk and different things like that so that you can get more and just kind of store it and save it.
Thank you so much, Tamara. I really appreciate that. And that's something that people don't talk about a lot, this particular ideal of having a communal mindset. If you know that you have something, you should be able to share. And I love that ideal when it comes to just the different, things that we do have. Sometimes we have things and we don't even realize that we have things. Something as simple as like a Sam's card, right? A Costco card that will allow you to buy bulk items, right, of healthy foods and different things that you can spread out over time. If you know that you have a friend, a family, or somebody in your neighborhood who is unable to do that, hey, sis, hey, brother, I have this Costco card, right? I have a Sam's Club card. If you need me, I am there for you, right? I know you have briefly kind of talked about Dr. Wright, but I want you to, can you talk a little bit more about how participating within her wonderful food program exhibits that particular community mindset?
Um, so I've known Dr. Wright now for about 6, almost 7 years. And she is a MD, medical doctor, who just had an epiphany one day. Yes, there is a place and a space for prescription medication, but she was noticing with a lot of her patients, especially a lot of minority patients, they were dealing with certain illnesses like diabetes, high blood pressure, strokes and stress and different things like that. And where there is a space for the prescriptions that she would write them, she thought to herself, what if, because anyone can go to a doctor's appointment and the doctor has often told them, hey, you need to eat better. But what does eating better mean to someone who have a generational poor mindset of what that looks like? So you have to kind of demonstrate that. So inspired by her young son, Akeem, she decided to invest in an over 40-acre farm. And that started about a decade ago. And she's just since then been working to build within a community. Even with the pandemic, she restructured in a way where by the grace of the most holy God, she and her husband were able to get a trolley. And so they would go from site to site with the availability of fresh foods, because a lot of times in poorer communities, there are food deserts where you can go for miles, and I mean blocks, if not miles, before you can find a decent grocery store, because you can't hold people accountable to eat healthier when you go to the gas station. But I'm gonna keep it real because I'm from the south side of Chicago by way of the west side. And like, if you're going to go gas stations that's loaded with like sugary drinks and Black and Miles, it's gonna be very hard to find, healthy in those sites. And so she really put her investment where your money, where your mouth, where her advice was, because sometimes when we are of a certain educational level or intellectual level or even socio economic level, we understand going to, Trader Joe's or Mariano's, or just going and getting groceries more regularly, fresh things like once a week, as opposed to going like every other month and doing a lot of processed high sodium foods. And so she really incorporate that. So her goal has been to couple with community clinics, because when you go in, if someone's going to a dialysis clinic, the next natural step should be them going to the farmer's market. Because I remember as a child, and my grandma's probably flipping over in her grave for this, but I remember as a child, my grandmother had dialysis on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So from Friday to Monday, it was party time, in her diet and what she ate. And then when Monday came, she was kind of like, okay, I got to go back to dialysis on Tuesday. And there was no one at dialysis that was really telling her. And I can remember how weak she would be with them having to take all the blood almost out of her body and cleaning it. So I'm not talking about something that I haven't lived and experienced and saw with the level of people in my own family that have had these struggles. Like, I don't come from an environment, I myself have had certain struggles as far as like addiction to sugary foods, just growing up with being exposed to a lot of sugary foods and highly processed foods. Like, it really made sense to me. And so I try to connect with Dr. Wright in any way that I can. Any skill sets the Most High have given me as far as like administrative connections. And so I try to encourage people. And you can learn a lot more about her through blackoakcenter.com, .org, or you can go to the healthyfoodhub.org and learn more about that movement.
Thank you so much. So beautiful. I mean, what a great way to provide this example of this community of sharing what you have, right? And how you can be a part of it. I look forward to providing the community online with those beautiful links, right? I love what you said. You said, what does eating better look like when you have developed a generational poor mindset surrounding food, right? And I mean, it just really hit, because this particular ideal is that you have to, take yourself away from these particular ideal of what food is, right? And connect yourself to the source when we think of organic foods, and connect to people like yourself and Dr. Wright, who are showing people within the community how you can live, holistic, even if you are right in a food desert. Thank you so much for that. My next question is surrounding your own personal journey. I would like for you to, if you can, just speak a little bit about your journey with breast cancer and how living a holistic life, how that was a catalyst for you to live a holistic life.
So I would say that I started on the journey with breast cancer almost 7 years ago. Remarkably so, my presentation throughout this journey has been nothing short of a miracle. I have always, for many years, like I said, being a teenager and seeing my grandmother struggles and other family members struggles with health, I've been in tune with dealing with illness and disease and incorporating in a holistic with the diagnosis. 6 years ago, it was kind of strange for me and many people around me, because they would always say, man, Tamara, like, or my friends call me Tammy, man, Tammy, like, if you develop cancer, you're one of the healthiest eating people that I know. But oftentimes it goes a lot deeper than just what you eat. And I'll end the response to this question with an acronym that I use in this journey. And the journey has just been just that. And it's definitely a marathon that will continue in my life, because oftentimes when you experience certain illnesses, whether it is cancer or diabetes, it doesn't just go away. It kind of become a part peeking in to see if it can get back inside, because it has kind of like this remembrance, like any type of pest that I've been there before. If it's some kind of way I can get back in there, I can feed off of this, almost like a parasite. I can feed off of this environment. So you're constantly trying to create an environment in your body where you are not welcoming disease into your body. And so that is a lot of what I focus on. And it can be a combination of things. And I always like to be kind in people's decisions. Whereas with me, I've never been a fan of just the traditional things like chemotherapy and radiation. However, I understand there is a space and a time for that on people's journey. But my aspect is my perspective always been, what else can we do besides that? Besides that. And so, whereas over 5 years living with a cancer diagnosis is considered, some people get as low as like 3 to 6 months, diagnosis. And so it tells me that my hard work has not been in vain that I've done. And just to kind of summarize things, I would say an acronym that I have focused on is, I would say it's a T New Start. And what does that mean? So I added the T not for my name, but because the T was at the end of start, and what it stands for, I wanted it to be closer up. So the first thing is, as a believer, I have found that you have to first and foremost, in a process of healing, you have to first and foremost trust. You have to trust your creator. You have to trust the most high living God in the process, because if you are going into a process of healing and you're not trusting the process of what your creator can do in your body, what your body can do to heal itself, what you can overcome in comparison to what you've been through, where you can go to as a composer, you have to trust that you can do that. And then you have some more basic things, like the N is for nutrition. You have
Hello,
to
Tamara.
participate.
Thank you.
Hello? All right, take two.
Hello. How are you?
Yes, take two. So, as I was in the part of the question about this acronym that I have began to live by, it's the T New
Yeah, I'm
Start.
having
New
I'm having
Start.
some challenges hearing you.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. And then
Hmm.
the screen froze.
Is it better now?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Um, Let me see this. You know, I'm going to oh, because I'm not sure what's going on. Um, okay. Because I'm gonna try my phone and see if that's better. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I was just on a Zoom call earlier. Um, let's see. Um, let's see. I know I have a Zoom. And I'm wondering if that will help. Let me see. Uh, Somebody just entered. I think, let me see, Annette. Okay. All right. Someone just entered. All right.
You definitely have been really clear
Okay, good,
right
good. Okay,
here.
well, I'm not gonna, we're just gonna go back on live. Okay. Um, Hello, is that Taliba? Oh no, she hears me. Hi, Taliba, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm sorry I'm so late.
All right, that's fine. We're going to try to go back on to Facebook Live.
Okay.
We're having some technical issues, so we're just going to go forward. All right. And so I would just say, just make sure you keep your mic on mute until you have a question or if you want to say something.
Okay, I'm sort of new to this. Where's my mic?
It's usually there's usually a little like microphone, and okay,
Hmm.
and if you need help, I can mute you on my side if you feel like you can't find it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
Okay, so
Record, right. You can mute me.
okay, and then when we get to the question and answer, I'll unmute you so then you can say what you
Okay.
want to say. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, here we go. We're going back. All right. Okay. Oh, I think we were still live. Uh-oh. Um, we were still live, so I'm sure you all enjoy that. So, anyway, thank you all so much. Again, we're going to continue. Um, Tamara, I would like for you. You were talking about uh, how breast cancer was a catalyst for your change, and I feel like towards the end of your discussion, we start to break up a little bit. So, I wanted to know if you could just kind of repeat some of
Yes,
things that you said so that we can make sure that the audience get a chance to get all that food that you gave us. Thank you.
absolutely. And so, one thing that I was saying is sometimes it's easier to digest information when it's in the form of an acronym. And so, there is a healing principle acronym that I've really been using as a guideline for myself to start. And I have kind of modified it a little bit to call it the T New Start, not because my name starts with a T, but the T in it is that we first have to trust. We have to trust the most high living God. We have to trust our creator to get us through things that we are struggling with, whether it's your physical, emotional, financial health. You have to trust your body's ability to heal itself, whether it's healing from an illness, a toxic relationship, whatever it's healing from. And then we can go into the N in New Start, which is nutrition, because oftentimes people start focusing on certain things like how they're eating, exercising, different things like that, without even having trust in the process that they can actually do this, they can actually achieve it. So that's the big T. Then the N is nutrition. We have to be involved with what we are taking into our body. We have to take accountability. I remember growing up and hearing people say, well, I'll just let the doctor fix me. Like, there is a role that the doctor has to play in your health and wellness and sometimes nutrition, but you also want to be very active to it. You want to know, as far as, do you have reactions to dairy? What types of meats are more ideal for you? What brings inflammation? If you're dealing with asthma, different things like that, what are you eating or consuming that's contributing to that? So that's that nutrition piece that you want to know for yourself. The E, of course, is exercise. Um, sometimes it's hard for people to get physical exercise. And one of the the easiest ways I encourage people to get exercise is if you drive, park a little bit further. Many of us have been guilty, including myself, of circling the parking lot sometimes 3 to 7 times trying to get a closer park to the door, whereas we could just park further away and walk. That would be exercise, for our body. And of course, during the warmer, it's wintertime now, but the warmer summer months, you definitely want to get out. The W is water. People go back and forth with the school of thought, but I kind of lean towards the school of thought that you want to do half your body weight in water. So if you are 200 pounds, you want to do 100 ounces of water a day. That needs to be your goal. We've heard things like 8 glasses growing up, but clearly it can't be 8 glasses for everyone. So I think it's safer to look at your own weight and go from there. Then you have the S, which is sunshine. That has been a challenge a lot of times with the winter months, but even with the pandemic, with the COVID-19, they have found in a lot of the deaths and transitions with people, one common thread was a lack of vitamin D. And it's even more so prominent in people of color, minorities, quote unquote, for there to be a lower vitamin D count. So you may have to incorporate a synthetic form if you can't get that sunshine, where you can take at least 5,000 international units of vitamin D, preferably with K2 to help with the absorption. And so you want to make sure that you're getting that sunshine or the vitamin D that you get from the sunshine. Next, T for temperance, and that goes so across the board. Temperance in our diet, temperance in our mood, our emotions. You have to keep yourself together. Temperance is so big, it's a whole group of people called narcissists, and they feed off of people not being able to balance your temperance with them, and you don't want to be controlled like that. The A is air. So you want to get fresh air. With the pandemic, a lot of us are in our workspaces, our school spaces, and we're not getting out as much as fresh air. And even with the screen time with both adults and children, is so much time is inside, as people are just not getting out and getting fresh air. And then you have the R of start, rest. It's so important to get rest. A lot of times people will say, well, I can't get any rest because I have so many things to do. Even the most high living God, the creator, rested, after he did so much work. So for us to think that we can go 24/7 without proper rest, and I know that it can be hard, especially with like social media. Like me personally, one thing I've done to help my rest is that I don't have social media during the week. And so that I don't then lay down and then get into screen time. And so I will just delete my Facebook and Instagram app during the week and just check that stuff on the weekends, so that it's not interrupting my rest process. And then back to the T, that's going to be the trust. Trusting everything about the process of the fact that you can heal. You can self-heal. There are professionals out here that can help you heal, and you can do it. You have to trust the process. And so that's my T New Start acronym, and it touches on quite a few things that we need to incorporate in our healing journeys.
Thank you so much. Like, I truly appreciate that beautiful acronym. Like, I love it, and I can't wait to post it. I just want to just kind of repeat that for those of you all who didn't get a chance to hear that. We have T, New Start. T is for trust, N, nutrition, E, exercise, W, water. Then we have start. S is for sunshine. T is for temperance. A is for air. R is for rest, and T is for trust. And I just think that was just, so beautiful, along with all the other things that you have said concerning your own particular journey. One of the things that stood out to me was this word that you used was remembrance, right? And just like the body, and just like the body remembers negative things, but the body also remembers positive things and positive lifestyles and the things that we're supposed to eat and the environments that are nurturing for ourselves so that we can heal, right? So thank you so much for that. So I'm going on. You're doing so lovely. I'm just like, stay focused, Tiffany, because I know you have so many questions you want to ask her. The next question is, what advice would you give to women about the importance of self-care and eliminating toxic relationships?
Absolutely. And that is such a beautiful question, because it's one thing, like I said, to a doctor to say, go home and eat healthy. On that same line, people that have been on healing journeys like myself, it's one thing for me to say, take care of yourself. It's such a blanket comment that people make, but what does that look like? I'm just so grateful of my own experience. Sometimes, as women, we become so catering to everyone else around us that we empty our proverbial cup out on others, and we don't have anything, to take care of ourselves. Even to make bread, it takes a little flour and a little oil, but if you give everything that's in your cup or cupboard, um, what do you have for yourself? And so, you, just like a disease, you have to look at what people in your life are like parasites. And sometimes it's harder to disconnect, because maybe it's an ex-spouse or someone that you're co-parenting with, but you still have to create that healthy distance. One concept I've learned, one of two concepts I would like to talk about, I've learned in my journey as an adult is, like I mentioned earlier, the narcissistic personality, the whole draining of another, like you're going to have two types of people for the most part, and trying to find that balance. You're going to have empaths, which are people that are typically very vulnerable to being taken advantage of. And then you have narcissists who are, and I will say, I was a little ignorant at first. Disorders like anorexia, you usually think of women more than men, or even like breast cancer, you think of women more than men. I used to think that narcissism was a thing with like just men. But there are many people who have grown up with narcissistic mothers, that manipulate them, people that try to manipulate you, control you. Um, those are narcissistic people, and they're not safe people. They're not safe to themselves. And when people are around them, you just serve as a supply to their illness. It's like a form of mental illness, and it goes undiagnosed oftentimes. If a person is an alcoholic or a drug addict, oftentimes, it's a 12-step program. But I believe that there should be 12-step programs for narcissists. And so you want to watch out for those people. You'll hear words around them like gaslighting, manipulation, control, and also just someone growing up like in the inner city area. Another thing I had to learn is about the forms of abuse. Of course, when I grew up, I always knew what physical abuse looked like, because a lot of times in lower social economic environments, people engage in physical abuse starting at a very young age, like play fighting and roughhousing and things like that. And I even knew like what sexual abuse looked like, but what I didn't know is about a couple others, like verbal, emotional abuse, financial abuse, and all those other different levels of abuse. And so I heard a celebrity's ex-spouse say she didn't know she was in an abusive relationship until she called the National Domestic Violence um, number, and of like 90% of the questions that they asked her, has this person held food from you? Have they held money from you because they didn't do it, you didn't do what they wanted you to do? And so being able to identify these toxic behaviors, and even my doctor, Dr. Wright, she just told me, how she finds, especially women who are in loving relationships, in relationships with a person pour into them, as much as they are pouring into the other person, their ability to heal is a lot more favorable than people that are being drained in a relationship. You're not getting help with the children. You're not getting help with cooking and cleaning. You're not being supported in the journey that you need to take. Maybe you're even being cheated on. A mate might be being unfaithful on top of the fact of you dealing with illness and stress, and they're bringing more undue stress in. So that's a really big thing, is one, knowing those signs of abuse, and when you are in the midst of an abuser, at minimum an unsafe person, parasitic person, what to do to create those degrees of separations. Because like I said, it can be on any level. It might be a parent or a grandparent or another family member that tries to manipulate and control people's mind, as it is often with a spouse or a significant other or a co-parent, that even when they're not physically in your life anymore, they still are trying to do things kind of from the side over methods they can, understanding that verbal abuse and emotional abuse can be 10 times more toxic than physical abuse. And some abusers will avoid physical abuse just to try to keep their reputation and everything, but they'll really double down on the emotional, and sometimes financial, and big time on the verbal abuse. And so really watching those signs, because you can eat all the organic food in the world, but you can't eat away, clean diet, exercise a toxic relationship. You have to get out of it.
Thank you so much, Tamara. I truly appreciate that. We have spoken previously about this, and I am a firm believer, when it comes to this ideal of, toxic relationships. Even I have been in situations where, I I didn't even realize, that I myself was in an abusive relationship, right? And it was emotional. It was the verbal, right? It was that attack on my spirit. But once you know that you are in a relationship where, as you stated, you're not positively being loved upon and that relationship becomes draining, then hey, sis, it's time for you to get out. Hey, bro, it is time for you to get out because, like you said, you can be eating at Whole Foods every day. You can grow your own garden. You can drink the purest water. But if you're in a toxic relationship, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, you are doing a disservice to yourself. So again, when we think of healing, healing is not just about the food that we eat. It's about the environments that we put ourselves in. And those particular environments are also the people that we have relationships with. And I love the fact that you talked about this ideal that when we think of narcissism or a narcissistic person, it's dangerous, and they do things, right, like you said, like gaslighting and manipulating. And when you feel yourself in these particular positions, then you need to remove yourself from those spaces. And again, I love what you said about Dr. Wright and this particular ideal that when you're in a relationship, any relationship, whether that's a relationship with your parent, a relationship with a loved one or a friend, When it is positive and full of genuine love, you heal better. You just heal better. But when you are in a toxic relationship, and a toxic relationship can happen with a parent, it can happen with a coworker, and it can happen with a partner. There's no discrimination when it comes to being in a toxic relationship. Your healing journey will be elongated and will be very draining, and it can also make you multiply in the illnesses that you have. So thank you so much for sharing those words of wisdom to the community. Now we have a beautiful soul online, Miss Taliba, and I just wanted to give her an opportunity to speak, to see if she have any comments or questions for our beautiful guest, Miss Tamara Rushing.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear. I can't hear you. Hello? Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I said I had a time in my life where I had to remove myself after the death of my mother. Um, the family just sort of fell apart, and I just totally was not happy. And I just realized I needed to remove myself. So I up and moved all the way from California to Georgia. And it was the best thing for me. I was about to lose my health. And so I agree very much with you, no matter how much fasting, dieting, drinking water that you do, if you don't heal your soul and your mind, the rest won't do you any good. So very much so. As far as the COVID and what have you, I daily, when there's sun, and so far in Georgia, we've been having sun. I sit on the porch and set my timer for at least 15 to 20 minutes. And I just sit in the sun. I make sure I have a dog, so I make sure we get out and walk every day. And in fact, my transmission went out on my car about almost 2 years ago, possibly three. And I decided not to repair it. And I've been walking because I'm retired now. And I'm in the best health probably I've been in a long time. So I'm on a journey to lose the rest of my weight, and I'm doing good with that. But that's why I was late today. I went for a walk, and it took me a little longer than I expected because I made a few stops. But I agree with exactly what you said, that you do have to surround yourself with people that uplift you and allow you to be you and to be happy. So that's paramount in my life, is that I'm determined to be happy, and it's almost a me first attitude, and I don't feel bad about it, because if I'm not healthy, I can't be healthy and helpful to anybody else.
Thank you so much, Taliba. I appreciate that. Tamara, did you want to respond to anything that she said?
Just beautiful. And I am so happy to be connecting with other human beings and that have had some similar experiences. And I hope people see this as a platform to reach out to people. And everybody is not like the limelight type of person. I haven't always been a limelight type of person, but it got to a point in my journey that I could not experience all this healing and keep it to myself. And I was talking to my mom recently about it, and I was just saying how a lot of people have information and knowledge, especially in poorer communities, but they choose to say, I'll let somebody else go through a hard time than to share what I went through. One of the particular groups that I would like to work with is teen moms, and specifically teen moms, because when teenagers are into whatever they're doing, they don't believe from adults that it can go bad for you. However, a lot of times with that experience of becoming like a teen mom, they still need that guidance. You know, our lost some great new vice president. her sister is a teen mom who went on to become a big lawyer, you know? And so your life just doesn't have to end there. But a lot of times in poor communities, women do feel like their lives are over, and it starts a spiral of poor diet. It starts a spiral of poor relationships. So I just feel like if I can connect with women at that inception of when they're dealing with something like that, and it's often a lowest point for them, I can help them get through something and not have to experience some of the things that I have experienced in my adulthood. And so definitely, if people have referrals, you can definitely share them with me, and I would love to be a part of however the Most High can have me to be a vessel and participating with that. And that's another big thing too, is no matter what you're going through, there's somebody that always is still in need. So ask your creator how you can help others. Don't make it me, me, me. Don't take a victim mentality about what you're dealing with, because there is always a way that you can pour into someone else's life. And so that's what I try to focus on doing, is pouring into the lives of others while my creator is divinely doing what he does to heal what's going on in my own body. And lastly, I would like to say, don't be afraid of therapy, whether it's in the form of mentorship or professional. A lot of times, if you cannot afford it, people that have been through tragic relationship breakup, whether it was a marriage or just a long-term relationship, you need to kind of pull that apart. As human beings, we're not designed to deal with like divorce and things like that. So don't go into another relationship with the same toxicity that you bring in from the last, baggage from the last. And so be open to therapy, talking through it with a professional so that you can be whole going into. You don't want to go in half and looking for your better half. You want to look for another whole. You want to go holistically into a new situation and not bringing baggage and not bringing along somebody with you who haven't dealt with their own baggage, because that's a recipe for more problems in your life as well.
Thank you so much. And I just saw Taliba just really shaking her head and just saying yes. So I just wanted to say, Taliba, did you have anything that you wanted to say concerning what Tamara said?
Yeah, I think she made a very valid point, and that's where I am in my life, is mentoring, especially young ladies that are trying to come up and better themselves. So I share stories. Sometimes they think you've always been the person that you are when they met you, and sometimes I have to tell them, no, I used to do little ratchet stuff too back in the day. You know, I didn't know better, or wasn't trying to do better, however you want to put it. So sometimes sharing those stories to let them know, hey, you know, you too can come through this and rise above it. So I do things like, I have a young lady in my life, and she was going through some domestic abuse and stuff, and she got out of that, and she had a young child. So I try to support her whenever she needs a babysitter or something. I'm there. She was in school, and whenever there was a holiday and she need to be at school, I'm there. I'll babysit for you, no charge, you know, I'm gonna help you. The child's father is very much involved, but sometimes they try to manipulate. And I tell her, hey, you don't have to deal with that. Whenever he tries to pull the rug from under you, call me. I'll back you up, and I'll make sure that you have daycare and that you can get to work and do what you need to do. Um, in mentoring her, she completed her degree. She was from another country. She completed becoming a citizen. So I'm very proud of her. And just recently, as soon as she got a job, I said, you need to buy a house. And she moved in her house just before Christmas. So it's those type of things. You're absolutely right. Sometimes you have to uh, be a helping hand to those, but more importantly, sharing with them your past sometimes, because sometimes they see you where you are and they think you've always been cool, collective, and all of that. And sometimes I've had to share stories that I'm not proud of, but it was necessary to let her know that, you too can rise up and do all that you need to do. So I think that's a very important point. Therapy, very good suggestion. I had to use it for grief counseling after the death of my mother and then the falling apart of the family. And it did help me. It helped me very much. And that's what gave me the strength to realize I just needed to cut my losses and move away. And I've never been happier. So those are very valid points. And I'm glad you brought it up, especially about the mentoring. I was thinking back in the day when my older sisters, they used to have a organization that the mothers had put together, and they were called the Bethanians then. I'm not sure what that meant, but that's what they did. They mentored these girls. They took them through almost like what they do with sororities. And I remember her going through it and the benefits of it. So I think very much so that we probably need more groups like this, like that, to help mentor, because there's so many girls out here and people say, well, where are the parents? Remember, there was a whole generation of girls that were having babies. And I remember back in the day, it used to be when a young teenager got pregnant, she stayed in her mother's house and the welfare check went to the mother. But then they start giving the check to the young teenagers and putting them in the project with their own apartments. And I think things went progressively downhill ever since. So I believe it's very important, like you said, to mentor and try to help them before they fall completely all the way through the cracks. Because a lot of them, that's all they need is a little mentoring and a little fine tuning. A lot of them are smart as they can be, but they just made a mistake. And when you bring a baby in the situation, you don't have the finances sometimes to completely do it. It can be daunting for a young girl. So very much mentoring. The Black community seems to be hesitant about therapy, but I think we're getting better. And I think people are realizing therapy is just talking your stuff out. Therapists don't have any solutions per se. They have suggestions, but basically therapy is talking, and you talk your way through your troubles, and then you're giving direction. You may be giving referrals or something so that you can help yourself. But mentoring is a big thing that I think our community needs. That's all.
Thank you so much, Taliba. I so appreciate it. Just that emphasis on mentoring and the importance of having someone to guide you. It goes back to what Tamara was saying about this ideal is everybody has something to give. Everybody has something within their life they can give, whether that's advice, whether that's your Costco card, whether that is, I can help you because I was a mother too, and I understand what you're going through. If everybody think for a moment about what they can share, what a world this would be. So Miss Tamara, I have I have a question, two more questions, but before I ask, I want to make sure, is it okay for two or one question?
Absolutely.
One of the things I noticed behind you is a lettuce grow, and you are growing fresh food in your own home. So I wanted to know if you can talk a little bit about that experience and why you're doing it.
Absolutely. So behind me here, um, in my apartment, just to be clear, because a lot of people might say, well, I don't have a home, so I can't grow inside, I don't have enough space. So along my journey, I was introduced to a group with this amazing company called Juice Plus. They have a lot of clinical research and evidence that back up the things. And so many people, like truck drivers and business people, like I have a couple friends, businessmen and stuff like that. And when they're out, they don't have the same opportunity or motivation to eat healthy. And so there are tablets that are concentrated, dehydrated down vegetables and fruits. This here is called a tower garden. And in it right now, I have fresh basil growing, cilantro. I actually had tacos yesterday. I had some cilantro on there. I have lacinato kale here and some bib lettuce. One of the things I noticed last year around May when the riots broke out, after the untimely death of that gentleman, Mr. George Floyd, is that a lot of stores were rioted and people were having a hard time getting food. And I'm thinking, like, as someone on a cancer healing journey, I definitely don't want a situation where I can't get fresh foods. Like, I have to get fresh nutrients going into my body so I can go right here and grab a handful of kale and throw it in hemp hearts and some almond milk. People that are interested in a system like this. And it's such a beautiful, because at first I was so nervous. I was like, I've never really grown anything. So if you follow me on like my Facebook, with you'll notice how much, like, and I was so OCD about it. I didn't start it to like November, but by January I had food. And one thing I love about it, I have a 3-year-old and an 11-year-old, and they often will go and graze. Like, my 3-year-old, he's working on his cutting skills, and so he'll say, Mom, can I get something from your garden? And my sister told me a while ago, she was like, sis, I learned from you to always keep fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits, in a basket, because it makes me eat it. And the same thing like with water, she was like, keep it out and available. So this guy right here, and I tell my neighbors, hey, if you need lettuce, if you need cilantro or anything like that, that's my small thing, because that's lowering my carbon footprint. I don't have to know if it's coming from China, Australia. It's right here in my dining room. And I can definitely give more information about my Juice Plus referral code that you can use if you would want to do any of the phases. They have some delicious chewable gummies for children. I had a cousin, she said her son, he will not eat green vegetables. And so we got him on like the green vegetable chews. And then, like I said, the tablets help you. If people are like diabetics, I would refer that, even though they have a cleaner form of sweetener. And the chewables, I would say do the tablets. And then the next level is definitely having your own greens. So when you're making your basil, like your pestos, you got your own basil. You're making your tacos, you have your cilantro, kale for your smoothies, or just lettuce for salads, because oftentimes salads are one of those things that people go to the store and they get lettuce and they're like, oh, well, I'm not motivated to eat that lettuce, or I'm not motivated to go to the store because it's not a processed food. So you got to go at least probably once a week, to get those things. And so just having this grow, and honey, it is a miraculous system. Every 15 minutes, it waters itself. I have it turned off now, but they have I love this. It's called a tower garden. And like I said, I could give you my referral code if you're interested in growing inside. And I just go and eat. Like, seriously, this is my basil, and it has the best like crunch to it. It's so amazing. But I'll definitely send you my link for that. Whether it's you love cooking like me, you want your own fresh produce and herbs, or if you're on the run a lot with your work or business and you need like a way to get more whole food fruits and vegetables into your diet, or if you have a child or there's a child in your life, like the sister was saying, she's mentoring a lot of times with young mothers or single moms, children suffer from a poor diet because they don't have the time necessarily to cook, because they may be working one or two different jobs. And so the success in fast foods is often filled with, as you know, I've had a crush on the Tower Garden since I first met it last year, and I can go on and on about it, but I want you to get to your next question.
Thank you so much, Tamara. I truly appreciate you giving us that beautiful recommendation of having a tower garden, because the simple fact, you can grow anywhere. You don't have to grow outside. You can grow inside, right? And again, being a witness and being an example of what you can do when you have fresh food in your house. Hey, neighbor, I have fresh basil. I have fresh lettuce. You can come knock on my door and I can give it to you. So beautiful. I will also share that information online as well. My last question is concerning just a reiteration of your practice. And with this series being called Mothering Self, Nurturing Self, Loving Self, again, if you can just kind of reiterate some of your own practices that you do to take care of yourself during this particular pandemic, as well as in general.
And like I said, for the digestion of the information, I think acronyms work really well to process that. So I will go over the T New Start, because it's not just a cute acronym I came up with. This is something I live by. So when it comes to trusting, like, I am consistently in prayer with the Most High Living God, and meditating on the things that I need to do. I'm trusting the Lord. I'm trusting who He sends into my life for mentorship, for therapy, for healing, even the medical doctors that He sent into my life. I am trusting and including Him in every step of the way, as He has divinely created me, and He knows me better than I know myself. As with our earthly parents, we know our children better than they know themselves oftentimes. So they have to trust the process that we know what they need. And we have to trust with our creator our creator to know what we need. So the trust is really big. Trust, a lot of times people will say, oh, I've been with this person for 15, 20 years. They don't trust that they could live again without that type of toxic person. And so they stay connected to the toxicity way longer than they need to, because they don't trust that they don't trust that they can do a cross-country move and be okay. So the trust is a really big thing, and a principle that I live by. Then the end, again, the nutrition. It's a balance, starting as simple as, I was so honored to have met the late, great Dr. Sebi before he transitioned. I met him in 2015, actually, in Chicago. And that was the first time I saw an 80-year-old man basically jump off of a stage almost, because his body was in such good physical health, and the principles that he followed as far as nutrition. And so with the nutrition, starting out simple, getting up, getting you some warm, clean water. And some people will argue with me. I personally don't feel like it has to be alkaline water. You can alkalize your water, because you can just have spring water and add some lime juice to it and start off there. And another thing is, another mentor told me about olive oil. One thing with olive oil is you want to look at the produce date, like the expiration date, as well as the harvest. There's one, I don't have an affiliation with them, but I like the California olive oil. Like, it usually always have the harvest date on there. And so consuming a couple tablespoons of that is very biblical. Also, too, if you're, depending on your belief system, you may have seen it a lot as the power in healing oils. And I've also been introduced, I have been introduced to their oils, such as tea tree oils and lemon oils. And so these things, are right in the community, or at your reach, I would say, that you can access with your nutrition. the exercise, like I said, at minimum destination, so that you can take those extra steps, then go ahead and do it. And I don't mean to step on anyone's toes, but I'm gonna need some of the young brothers and sisters that I'm seeing at Walmart who don't have disability to get off of those cars and walk around the store. That is designed for people that have disabilities, but I sometimes see sisters in their 20s and they're riding around on those carts. Get off of it, walk, exercise. And definitely one of the things I like to do is, I have a 3 and an 11-year-old. We go to the trampoline park. Rebounding is a very good thing. It really gets your circulatory system going. So if you can go there, and the kids love it because they get to run and trampoline and jump all around. But as an adult, don't just sit to the side, checking your Facebook. You get out there too, and you jump up and down, and it will get your circulatory system going. And if you get like a membership, that would be like your gym with the kids, and because a lot of people say, well, I can't get to the gym because I don't have a babysitter. So if you're taking them to the play lot, there are things you can do right there in the playground to exercise with them. And then at minimum, stretch. Get up and do your calisthenics in your apartment, stretch your body. Like we said, the temperance, balancing yourself, not allowing people to reserve a place in your space. I have a cousin who studied therapy, and she was saying so many people allow people to live rent-free in their head. You're playing over and over again what they did to you, how bad they hurt you. Meanwhile, they're moving on with their lives and they don't even think about you. So you have to balance yourself, not only in how you eat, but also how much negativity you allow, not only to enter your space, but to stay there rent free. You're getting up every day thinking about these things, and these people, they're not thinking about you, and it's having a toll on your health, dealing with that. This is what my ex is. This is what my mom, my dad, my cousin, my neighbor. You got to let that stuff go. And like they say, forgiveness is not about letting them off the hook. It's more about just moving on and releasing yourself from a situation. I've heard people say, you know what, I'm going to remove myself from this situation. I'm going to do you guys a favor, just remove myself, because sometimes if you wait for people to change their behavior, you have to, like I told my therapist recently, I'm focusing more on the things that I can control and letting go and being at peace with more of the things that I cannot control. And all of this plays into your temperance. And definitely the A for air, getting that fresh air with the pandemic and the stay-in orders. You want to make sure, even if you're just going to the balcony, if you're just walking around your complex, and even like if you're doing like your little jumping jacks or something, go outside on a balcony and do that. So that way you're breathing in fresh air while you're doing it. I love when the sister said, she goes on the front porch as we're getting to the sunshine. In the air, and then going to the rest, get your rest. So if you have to shut your Facebook down, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble with their job, but I'm just keeping it real, because as someone who has worked in human resources for 20 years, I have been abused in the area of work and allowed myself to be. So you're not obligated to be up texting and emailing 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night even. So if someone sent you an email late like that, you teach people how to treat you. So if you let people text you in the middle of the night or email you in the middle of the night and you respond to it, you're teaching them that you're okay with them disrespecting your rest cycle to get in something that they need to be getting in between a set hours of time. I remember I had an aunt when she used to go to sleep, she used to unplug her phone, and everybody in the family would get, how could you unplug your phone? But her rest was serious to her. So she unplugged her phone. I'm telling my age. I was back in the day, you had a house phone and you just pull the cord out to unplug it. But she would unplug her phone during the hours that she was resting. But nowadays it's more pressure than ever not to rest. People, oh, well, did you see my text? They got systems now that tell you if the person even saw that you sent them something. And now they're like, well, I saw that you looked at, I saw you a message, you sent you a message, but you didn't reply back. So I'm feeling some type of way. temperance. Keep those people out of your space because they're not respectful of your rest, and that's unacceptable. And then, like I said, back to the trust, just trusting the whole process of all of this is so important, that you trust that you can do it. It's not where you start, but it's where you're headed to and where you end up in life.
Thank you so much, Tamara, for those beautiful words. T, new start. I'm looking to see these acronyms on t-shirts, cups, on the wall, on how you can live your life. Again, Taliba, she has a comment. She just want to say something. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay. I just wanted to know what your feelings are about milk. I find that our Black community seems to have an intolerance for lactose. And I know one of the things I used to tell a lot of the young ladies when I worked, and especially if they were about to get in trouble about attendance, about taking off because of the sick child. And I would tell them, take them off of that milk, and they would say, well, what can nut milk, carrot juice, apple juice, all of those things, plus water. Most of our kids don't drink water. And I used to be a CASA, court appointed special advocate. And one of my charges, I went to see about her, and the child had a thick, thick mucus and runny nose, and I said, this child needs to have orange juice, fresh oranges and what have you. She said, oh yeah, I have. And she went to the refrigerator and she pulled out this big jug of orange drink. And I said, sweetheart, that has absolutely no oranges in it. It's orange drink. It says nothing about juice. But again, it's a financial thing. That jug probably of orange drink probably was $1.50, if that. But a big jug of real fresh orange juice would probably be $10 or more. So I wonder, do you talk to people about that? Because I think that's a big problem in our community with the diet, of taking in too much of the milk and those types of things. I try to do vegan more so now because I'm not, as you say, entrusting of the food. The chicken that I ate as a child and that my parents ate and then great grandparents ate is not the chicken that they're selling now, that has a lot of hormones, that has a lot of antibiotics in it and what have you. And I would just like to hear your opinion about especially lactose intolerance in our community.
Absolutely. And sis, I think it's going to open a Pandora box, but I'm going to start it here. And people often don't like to hear this. Human beings are the only mammals that, one, eat from another species milk. You never see a sheep, drinking milk from a cow or vice versa. So for one, it needs to start there. I'm a big proponent of breastfeeding because, and I will fight to the end of it. The facilities, jobs, they need to allow people. They call that the liquid gold. There are things in breast milk, like my 3-year-old, my 10-year-old have always been plant-based, besides when it comes to milk, besides my breast milk, and they have never had issues like asthma. But growing up myself in a lower socioeconomic environment in poor community, that was a common thing for people to have asthma, bronchitis, and different things like that, inflammation, mucus, issues with that, film always going on. So I'm going to say, one, make sure you're breastfeeding, in the city, so I keep it real. If you are letting the mate fondle around in that area, whatever, don't tell me that it hurt too bad for the baby to nurse. Like, give that baby that milk. This, the Lord, didn't create you to have those just to be for aesthetic purpose of the person that you're trying to attract, or for your clothes to fit better. Those were put there for specifically. So if you're blessed to bring life through your body, the least you can do is give that child the milk, because you're giving them a better chance at life, a better start, I would say, at life. And so that's the first thing about human or animal milk, as we are mammals. That's the only time you need to be dealing with animal milk. One, it comes from your own species, so not your mother. And don't get me wrong, like goat milk can be a little bit better than cows, just because it's usually not, it's not as popular in the US. So what is not as popular is not as cruel, is really expensive. So a lot of people don't. But I know for a fact that you can go to WIC, and when a child gets a certain age, they can be offered goat milk, but you have to ask for it. They're not promoting it. They're not receiving big kickbacks from the goat milk industry, but it's a good quality milk. But plant milks, definitely. Almond milk, coconut milk, oat milk. A lot of people, and it's never too early to get your to know the compatibility of their bodies. A lot of people will find that children or people are either allergic to things, at minimum, they have an intolerance to those things. So I can't just say coconut milk, because the person might have a coconut intolerance. And so in that case, you might need to do almond milk, but you definitely want to be veering more towards a plant-based diet. And there's a lot of awesome technology. Is so amazing. I followed Tabitha Brown a lot, and even for the younger generation, there is someone called the Ghetto Vegans out of California, and there's so many plant-based options. So I would say, I would challenge each person, as per this video, to try once a week plant-based. Dunkin' Donut has a plant-based sandwich. The Beyond Meat, you know, Burger King has the Impossible. Like, between Beyond and Impossible, I think that Beyond Meat has more integrity, but I'm not gonna lie, Impossible does taste more like meat. But the problem with dairy and meat is, like, for example, my mom always ate what was on sale as far as the ground beef. When I started getting her the organic ground beef from Costco, she's like, I taste the difference. And even when I cook it, it don't shrivel all up like what I used to get from Save-A-Lot, different places like that. You know, the quality of a good grass-fed beef sandwich. And so I'm not anti this type of food or that type of food. I'm anti unclean foods. I'm anti foods that bring a lot of inflammation and mucus into it. So me personally, like, the ideal diet I would like is more like a Mediterranean. Like, I love shrimp, and one of the things that I've always struggled with it, because sometimes shrimp is not the cleanest. From a spiritual perspective, we know the Levitical laws biblically, but I found that there is a plant-based shrimp made from, like, sea algae. I am telling you, last time I was in Chicago, went over on the west side, and there's a place in Hyde Park, my 91-year-old grandfather and I, because if you want to keep it real, guys, get somebody that's done a little life living. They're not going to sit up there and do it for the vine, as the young people say, and doing it for Facebook and all that. So I knew my grandfather at 91 years old, if he said this is good, this is some good eating, it was some good eating, and it made me feel really good. So at least one day a week, challenge yourself to incorporate more plant-based diet. And it is easier now than it's ever been. Like, it used to be, if you were vegetarian, vegan, you just had beans, but now they have all type of things. And from Aldi to Whole Foods, you can find it, but you need to plan and be intentional in your diet. But just to wrap up the initial question, you need to lean more towards plant-based milk, because it was never designed for us to do another species animal's milk, let alone all of the hormones and stuff that they pump into it to get it to produce quicker, and they're not having your health in mind. And you can see this easily when you got an 8-year-old that's developed like a 16-year-old girl. That's hormones in the food, because there's nothing else she's doing but eating and being fed at 8 years old to develop that. It's not like she's taken any type of medication or had a breast implant to have breast. You know that it's coming from the food. And it's most easily to manipulate with hormones, dairy and animal products, because you can feed it to them and it don't go away. If somebody feeds somebody steroids and it don't go away, you eat it, and whoever is the next person on the food chain that's going to consume it. So definitely I would encourage plant-based milk. And Walmart have it as low as $1.88 a carton. You can get it at Aldi's. And when it comes to foods, look at your nutrition facts. So if there were 4 different types of milk in the store, I would say go with the one that had the least amount in it. If you got a whole bunch of words that you can't read them, don't go with that one. Go with the one. So it's not about gold, diamond, or this. It might be the store brand, but look at that. But I'm open. Definitely feel free to email me, at Tamara@globalsolutionshrc.com, or we'll have connections with me. I feel like the Lord has really spared me. And so I'm here to be a vessel to help people, anybody. It don't have to just be teenagers, old, young, or in between, with their dietary goals, and help with living longer. And what I don't know, I will research or find someone to refer you to. But plant-based, at least one day a week, and you should see some difference in your health.
I just want to kind of add to what Tamara said about this idea. You can really find plant-based food. You can find it everywhere now, right? You can find it at the dollar store. Me and my brother found some plant-based vegan egg rolls at the dollar store, and they're the best, right? In addition, you can find plant-based almond milk at the dollar store. You can find coconut oil at the dollar store. And if you're big about not going to the dollar store, go to the dollar store. You'll be surprised at what these stores have that are plant-based. I just made some bomb lentils. I brought it from the dollar store. There is no shame in my game. If I can, save some money and eat healthy, I'm definitely going to do it. I just want to say she has made a call, y'all. She made a call, once a week, plant-based. I'm going to put that on Black Meditation with Dr. Caesar. Everyone, let's try to do it. I am plant-based. I am more towards a vegan lifestyle, but I truly believe in the healing element of food. Miss Tamara has showed you that you can grow food in your own home. You can buy food at different stores, right? You can ask a friend to help you who has access, right? You can get connected with a community garden, like she was talking about concerning Dr. Wright. Again, to those mothers who are having children and they're experiencing sickness, Miss Taliba and Miss Tamara has already told you that dairy is just a food that really causes a lot of sickness. So if you can remove dairy from their diet, then you can add more longevity, as well as just a better lifestyle for them concerning their health. So again, thank you all so much for participating in the second episode of the Rose Gold Caesar concerning Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar, in which we're talking about healing, self-care, and ways of being during this particular pandemic. I am so grateful for Ms. Taliba for her wonderful wisdom. And we just look forward to seeing you all again. I do want to say, if anyone want to make a final comment, please do.
Well, I'll say something. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I just thought it was funny when Tamara said we're only species that feeds off of another animal. And that's what I tell many of the young mothers, is that they was, because the hospitals promote the milk for the babies. And I tell them, well, when the baby starts mooing or grows a tail and starts swatting flies, that's when you should give them the milk. But otherwise, the milk is not made for them. And I think that's when it clicks in their head, that it might be good. And many of them have come back and reported to me that they're so happy that they made the switch and that the child is no longer sick. And it's been a pleasure to speak with you ladies. And Tamara, you've given a lot of valuable information. I hope that whoever is listening will take it to heart and give it a try. And one other question about your tower. Is that electrical? I heard you said it's self-watering. So is it electrical?
It
Okay.
is. It is electrical, and it is not sure if anybody, but it's idiot proof simple. It helped me because I didn't grow up. I've seen my grandmother grow things, but you plug it in, and there is a reservoir down at the bottom. You can see here, and it plugs in. The reservoir takes 20 gallons of water.
Oh,
And just clean, put it in there, 20 waters of water. And there are a couple of, you check your pH levels, and there's like plant mineral food, but it starts out with like, you just go right in and you put the food in there. You can see these beautiful roots off of this one here. This is
okay.
my basil, and it's just growing there, and it just waters itself. Do the up here, you want to have it on about 16 to 18 hours a day. But I was just blown away from November to January, and just when I go and I don't have to get cilantro, and I don't have to get lettuce, and I don't have to get kale for my smoothies or salads, it's just great. It's one less thing off my list I don't have to worry about. And like I said, you can share it with the community, other people in the community that say, well, I don't have that much money so I don't want to try cilantro. I don't know if I'll like it. But they are eating it. They'll go to Chipotle and they'll pay for extra cilantro. So they'll eat it. But when they go to the grocery store, they're not thinking about it. So some people will come up and say, well, can I try some of your cilantro? I just want to see what it tastes like. And I'm just amazed at how much my children, come and graze on it like little animals, grazing on the tree, just eating natural things. And my 11-year-old, he's like me, he loves smoothies. And so, but definitely I'll share with Dr. Caesar like my referral code for like the Tower Garden. They have payment plans and things you can do, but it paid for itself. Definitely. Like all you're doing is making sure that the water level is up. You don't have to have a green thumb. I can attest to that. And, it's different things, that you can grow inside. And so it's an amazing, amazing thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for just allowing us to know about the Tower Garden, that you can grow fresh food, whether you stay in an apartment or a home. You can make this happen. And just the love that your children feel, um, to be able to see fresh access, right, to these particular foods, when in some places it's so hard to get. There's no excuse, right? And so thank you so much for sharing that. I can't wait to get that code so that I can share it with everyone else. So again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We will have another discussion. We cannot stop here. And thank you all for participating in Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar, the Rose Gold series, Mothering Self-Healing Practices During COVID-19. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.